Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Formula Racing League GT3 nightclub, powered by ACC Strategist. It's time for round 5, and we're off to one of the great circuits today, previously an airfield, home to British Formula 1 racing and sporting some of the best racing in the world. It's none other than Silverstone. Tonight, bringing you all the action from the commentary box. And on behalf of 00 Raven Comms, my name is George Cook. I am joined by the legendary Sean Madden. Good evening, Sean.
Good evening, George. Great to be in the comms box once again, and a warm welcome to all those in chat and watching from abroad.
3 rounds to go this season, including tonight, so it's now or never for the drivers to get their hands on the season victory. Silverstone, an absolute favourite of mine, and the FRL drivers and the home race for the league. That's bound to create some brilliant racing for us. Of course, we have our 2 20-minute races for you as usual. 6 minutes of qualifying to set the grid. For both races, in fact. But it's nighttime out there, and it's probably quite cold, too. I'm not over there in the UK right now. Sean, you've been hanging around the pit lane earlier this evening. How are things looking out there?
Well, you mentioned about it being cold. It's not really cold, George. The UK is actually going through a bit of a heat wave, and it's quite warm and muggy out there. And I know what you're thinking, George. UK and heat wave don't normally go hand in hand, but honestly, this time it is 21 degrees. Conditions are looking pretty good for the drivers, and there is not a cloud in the sky either. Yeah, George is sitting there absolutely shell-shocked.
Literally, actually, yes.
But there will be a 6-minute stint for qualifying, as always, prior to the race, and the grid order will also be set for race 2. No pit stops are allowed during the races. Drivers should have sufficient fuel and tyres to last the whole of the 20-minute stint. And with the drop rounds, they're actually being calculated on the fly, as we're about to see.
Indeed. So, taking a look at the top 10 standings after round 4, Christian Muller is leading the standings, takes first position in both races at Kyalami. In fact, takes first position in both races previously as well, and maintains the lead at the moment. Leon Seeley, second in the standings, takes second position in both races last week. These two are inseparable. I just seen first, second. Maybe we'll see a little bit of a shift around between them today. Sandro Van Sand got very unlucky last week, but stays third in the standings. Powell Stenner takes fourth in the standings, 5th and 9th at Kyalami. Domokos Kiss in 5th position. 2 third-place finishes last week, goes to 5th in the standings. Fabio Giuffrida is in 6th position in the standings, looking to climb up into the top 5, I believe. And we've got Max Florence here. He's got a DSQ next to his name. Not sure if we'll see him on the grid at the moment. No show in round 3 and 4, but maintains 7th in the overall standings. 8th position goes to Marcin Scott, the Dutch driver. Had a good night at Kyalami last week. Takes 8th in the overall standings. Molt Pauly, 7th and a DNF at Kyalami, but keeps 9th position in the standings. And rounding things out, of course, it is Wasim Mughal. Holds on to 10th place in the position and the standings. And then the rest, of course, will still have all to play for to get up into the top 10 today. So let's talk about Silverstone now, because this is an absolutely legendary track. 3.6 miles, 5.8 kilometers, founded in 1948. Current layout from 2010, located in North Hampshire, England. So some of you are pretty close to that, I suspect. 18 corners, 8 to the left, 10 to the right, 11 meters of elevation change. And Sector 1 here through some of the most famous corners in the circuit. Maggots, Beckett's being examples of those. Sector 2 starts out with a beautiful flowing corner of Stowe down into Vale and Club. Very tricky. Drivers do tend to get that wrong, unfortunately. Through Abbey, they go a full commitment corner and into Sector 3 through the village and the loop down to Brooklands and Luffield, and rounding out in Woodcote. Of course, this is the GT3 layout, built on the site of a World War II airfield. Silverstone first hosted the British Grand Prix in 1948, and then 2 years later in 1950, Silverstone was actually chosen as the venue for the first race on the inaugural Formula World Championship. And over to you, Sean, for the rest of the track facts.
It would help if I turned the microphone on. Yes, George, it is a fantastic track. It is actually one of the only 4 Grand Prix from the first year of the World Championship to remain a part of today's F1 calendar, the others being Monaco, Spa and Monza, and is destined to remain on the F1 calendar until at least 2024. The layout of Silverstone has undergone significant changes over the years, mostly in a bid to reduce speed and increase safety. Nevertheless, Silverstone is a favourite destination for motorsport fans, remaining the home for the Silverstone 500, the British GT, MotoGP, and of course, they still have time for all sorts of non-race experiences such as track laps and public drives.
I'd like to do one of those one day, actually. I'd really would. That and Nürburgring Nordschleife as a public drive, that would be absolutely epic. In fact, actually, I tell you what, I'd much rather get driven around those tracks in a nice fast car. That sounds much more fun to me and less risky, I think. Nonetheless, thank you for that, Sean. Appreciate it. And I've got a little bit of information for everyone in chat right now. We've got a little bit of a delay on the server. Unfortunately, a little bit of a technical glitch in the background. These things do happen occasionally. And we will be starting off qualifying in about 10 minutes. So we've got a little bit of time, Sean, to talk about a few things. I think a nice little recap of the previous round is probably in order today, so we'll keep an eye on this and we'll talk a little bit about rounds coming up as well, because things are going to get very spicy in Nightclub, and it has been spicy in the previous rounds of Nightclub. Of course, going to Kyalami last week was absolutely brilliant. 2 20-minute races down in South Africa were absolutely stonking. The Bathurst races were brilliant, Imola and Spa as well at the beginning of the season, but Christian Muller has been very dominant, Sean. 1-1, 1-1, as in 1-4 in a row. So
yes,
he's been dominant.
Yeah, extremely dominant. Leon Seeley has been sort of the closest rival to him, but unfortunately for Seeley, he's just had no answer to Muller's dominance, of course. And yeah, he's definitely going to be a hard man to stop. And yeah, I mean, in terms of the car, I mean, you will know ACC a lot better than me, George. So the Audi, does that favour a track like Silverstone? Because obviously Silverstone has pretty much everything, doesn't it? You know, in terms of you know, long straights, heavy braking zones, you've got hairpins, you've got medium speed corners, of course. So so how do you think the Audi will get on at Silverstone, George?
Well, it's a tricky one, right? At the end of the day, any car can be made to go fast, and the Assetto Corsa Competizione, of course, a lot of it comes down to whether or not your setup is good. So, you know, whether it's Muller has a setup advantage, a talent advantage, it's hard, really hard to say. The Audi has been pretty strong at a few rounds. It's an MR car, of course, so you've got a nice little distribution of the weight balance of the car, but it's got a lot of torque on it, and it does like to stick its rear end out, unfortunately. So, but then again, you've got Seeley, who's in the Lamborghini. The Lamborghini, I've seen be one of the strongest cars in places like Silverstone, very strong at locations like Kyalami. Probably the best car at Kyalami would have been the Mercedes AMG. Just the way that it eats the curbs, it's just absolutely unstoppable when it comes to those circuits where you have to really get yourself into some awkward positions. Cars like the Audi and the Lambo do not handle that particularly well. Of course, we've got the 2 McLarens in Sandro Van Zandt and Paul Stenner as well. And the McLarens have been traditionally one of the fastest cars at Silverstone. I did do quite a lot of driving myself in the McLaren 720S GT3 Evo at places like Silverstone, and I can tell you right now, it is a bullet around circuits like that, with its high speed, low speed corners. Really does. It doesn't have the top speed grunt. The Lamborghini has less top speed, but it gets up to that top speed unbelievably quickly. It's an absolute rapid bit of machinery out of the corners, and for that reason, it's going to be very challenging to overtake a Lamborghini here, and I suspect the Audi, with that lack of top speed and the 3 long straights in the Hamilton Hangar and Wellington Straight, going to be a bit tricky to get to keep up or keep the Lamborghini behind. We'll see, of course, what happens in qualifying, because we might see some really good times put on by Muller to keep himself ahead. But I'm actually keeping my eye on Sandro Van Stenner in those McLarens, because the McLarens have not a distinct advantage, but certainly they are one of the top cars here at Silverstone today. So I think those are going to be the ones to keep an eye on, Sean, at the moment. Yeah, I think you know you've done a little bit of driving here. I think Ferrari. You're a Ferrari man.
I mean, whatever I can get a setup for, really, George. But yeah, I've had a dabble with the Ferrari 296, and I have tried the McLaren as well. Unfortunately, I'm not as fast as these very fast boys, of course, and I'm quite new to the game, so I'm definitely going to use that as an excuse. But yeah, certainly, you know, really enjoying it, and you know, looking to learn from the very best that we'll see tonight, of course. In terms of what you were saying about Sandro Van Zandt, I do think he's due a good result, isn't he? Because he started off the season very, very brightly, didn't he? He got 2 race wins in round 1, and that followed by 2 podiums, 2 P3s, that is. And then since then, his season's kind of curtailed off, hasn't it? It's fair to say, really. But I know that he gets massive respect throughout the grid. And yeah, I would also say with the same with Sterner as well. I think Sterner has been a little bit unlucky recently as well. So maybe expecting him to charge up the field tonight. Of course, he's using the McLaren 720S Evo car as well. So yeah, you know, we're looking at Muller because he's, you know, obviously very dominant in the last sort of couple of rounds. But yeah, Silverstone, I think, brings out a lot of other drivers that can get thrown into the mix, and certainly, as you said, Van Zandt, I think, will be one of them that will be challenging and trying to put right the wrongs from the previous rounds, George.
Yeah, it's definitely one for Sandro Van Zandt to bring back at this stage. It's tricky to do that late in the season and only 3 races ago, but still holding on to 3rd position, so certainly not out of it at the moment. And I'm just trying to check the points as well, because I think the gap is a little bit... no, it's a reasonably sized gap. So at the moment, Muller's on 393 points, 335 points for Seeley. Sandro Van Zandt on 299. So there is a lot of work for Sandro to get back up to the top. 1st position in both races in Spa earlier on. Third finish, so consistent at the very least at Imola. 3rd place and then at DNF. I remember that crash at Bathurst on lap 1. Basically just after corner 1, and a little bit of contact on the side of the car. I can't remember who with, but Sand got turned around into a wall directly on lap 1, and that was all she wrote, unfortunately. And then, of course, the drop result being last round at Kyalami, another DNF right at the beginning. I'm trying to remember exactly when that happened, but nonetheless, 4th result in the 2nd race, but that round is going to be dropped. But, you know, overall, depending on the results that Sandra gets in the next 3 or so races, that drop round might come back. Who knows? So, by the way, just so everyone knows, the drop rounds are calculated automatically by simgrid.com. They do a really good job to make sure that no one has to do any thinking about which round they actually want to drop, which is really good. You know, I always appreciate that as a driver, making sure we don't have to do too much thinking, which is always very nice. But nonetheless, it's a tricky one. Lots of work to do for Van Zandt. The server is up, by the way, and we will be getting started in a couple of minutes. But until then, Sean, we'll continue rambling on about this amazing nightclub league.
Which is something that we're very good at, George, is rambling on.
Certainly is. Yeah, that's right. No, there's no lack of words there from commentators in the comms box. We can talk all night about the track, about the cars, all of that. It's brilliant. And this is actually one of the things. I do want to mention this just before I throw it back over to you. FRL, the Formula Racing League, do a brilliant job in the background. The organisers, James Williams, the likes of Keddy, and all those in the admin team do a brilliant job to organise all these races. It's basically 7 continuous days of racing that gets held here, and all the broadcasts that get set up and all that. So absolutely big shout out to all of those chaps, and you know, especially for today, getting the technical glitch sorted out, which is no fun to deal with, I can tell you.
Indeed, yes, indeed. I'm George. Just sorry, I didn't mean to cut you out there. I'm having trouble joining the server. I think it comes up as backup, but not sure if that is the correct one or not.
That is indeed the correct one. So because of the technical glitch, unfortunately, they're using the backup server. And I've just been given the information. The go live is going to be at 9:42 p.m. So just FYI, that's another 4 or so minutes until we get into our 6 minutes of qualifying, folks. But sure, you should be able to join that now, so no worries at all. I'm just going to quickly reply to our legendary host, James Williams. But yes, things are going well. So let us know in chat, what are your expectations? Who do you think is going to be on pole here today? My vote today is actually going to be on Sandro Van Sant, taking out qualifying position for both the races and hopefully having a really, really good result, good race. So that's going to be my prediction today. Sean, you got any thoughts on that?
Do you know what? I think, obviously, you know, most people will go with Muller, but yeah, I just got this feeling that Van Sant is going to be one to watch, and do you know what? I'm going to take a bit of a bet on Van Sant to get pole position.
Nice.
That might be a bold statement, but yeah.
You know, we'll see. We'll see at the end of the day. But both votes from the commentary box going to Sandro Van Sant. I think it might be mixed up in a little bit of hope for Van Sant, because we've seen some great racing out there from the McLaren drivers. So hopefully, they have a good race today, and hopefully that does not translate into a commentator's curse, which unfortunately it does. I actually saw a funny little image earlier. Someone had anti-driver complaining spray, and I thought, oh, you know what they really need is an anti-commentator's curse spray, and just spray that all over the comms box, all over the car just before the race. And that's going to be a critical thing. So just quickly running through a couple of things in chat. So we've got Awazy Woo. Welcome into chat. Who's a fave to perform well in this race? Well, like we were saying before, Sandro Van Sant, but we do have the likes of Christian Moller, Leon Seeley, and Powell Stenner as well. All three of those drivers in it for a potential win today. Although Stenner hasn't been getting the best results. It's sort of, you know, potentially going to get a good result based on not getting a single podium. So has yet to get a podium in the nightclub season so far. Sandro Van Sant, Leon Seeley, and Christian Moller have been the ones really kind of deciding the fate. Although, that said, Domikos Quiche has got a P3 in the previous round at both races. So, yeah, could keep an eye on Domikos Quiche as well. The Audi driver has been performing very, very well, involved in some pretty big battles earlier on in the season, some of which were pretty nasty incidents, but nonetheless drove back well in the remainder of this season. She's had 3 podiums over the season, another podium out at Kyalami last week. And Awazy, we were also saying, heard a lot about Moog Hall, or however you say his name. Well, welcome to our life. We don't know how to pronounce people's names. We do our best. I'm not quite sure who you're referencing, unfortunately. And looks like we're just forwarding to the next session now. So we're going to go live on track to begin qualifying, folks.
I think that is Wasim Mughal. I thought it was pronounced as Mughal.
Oh, Mughal. Oh, I see. Right.
It could be Mughal.
It's not a first name, last name. It's the whole name. Gotcha. Okay, that does make a lot more sense. Yes, thank you for clarifying that, Sean. Appreciate that. All right, let's go on track now. And things are starting out there on track, so we're going to keep an eye on who's going to get the win here, or get the qualifying lead here, of course. And we will give ourselves some onboards as well later on, and we will go around the track, so we'll do a little onboard, but only 6 minutes of qualifying, so we might save the onboard for when we actually go into the race, and I think that'll probably be the ideal way of handling it today. So it is pretty cloudy out there, as you guys can see, so you know, this is it's 50% British weather, isn't it, Sean? Because it's 22 degrees on track, so that is hot, but it is cloudy, so that's exactly what you'd expect.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, it's quite rare to have blue skies, you know, complete sort of, you know, tropical Mediterranean weather, you know. So, you know, us Brits, you know, we can't complain too much because most of the time it is raining in the UK. But yeah, no, it's very, very good conditions, very muggy, as I said, particularly for night time. And yeah, 22 degrees. Yeah, certainly. Yeah, certainly very warm and perfect conditions for the drivers, George.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I will actually come back to the point that Wazy Wu has mentioned about Mughal. He was very, very strong in a couple of the races. Really, really good driving we saw out on track from Mughal. So we're not necessarily expecting an epic result. He's managed 6th and 4th over at Bathurst, 8th and 22nd. A very unlucky race in race 2 at Kyalami. So not necessarily expecting a race win here from Mughal, but being in the McLaren, of course. To another prediction in chat, which is from Floppy Fox. Macca's position 1 to 10, everyone else 30 seconds down. It's entirely possible, I tell you, because like I said, I have driven the 720S Evo around here, and it is absolutely beautiful. It's a beautiful bit of machinery to drive at this circuit. It really, really is. It's flowing. It's the setup that you get for it really, really suits, and that just makes we've got a little bit of concertina effect happening here as always. So all the drivers lining up, getting ready to do their laps, and look at that. That is some serious traffic, and and contact there as well. Oh dear.
Not ideal.
Oh dear. Okay, so some returning to the pits. In fact, there's Christian Muller, who's gone for a bit of a spinneroo. Not quite sure which corner that is. Looks like it's just after the first corner in Cops. So he's absolutely binned it at Cops. Only 6 minutes of qualifying, so you need to be on it immediately and getting out of people's way if you're on an invalidated lap. I mean, we've only been been on the broadcast for about 10 minutes, and we've only got 3 minutes left of qualifying, so we're already halfway through the session. And that Audi already looking like it's struggling. We should see some of the first laps come around soon. And by the way, purple goes Mukhal, so he's on an absolute flyer already. Coming through Abbey, that's full commitment there. Very, very nice. Good line through there. Takes a reasonably shallow line through Farm Curve and now into Village in the loop. Let's see if he can hold on to those apexes. It's very tricky to do so, but if he can and get a really good exit out through Aintree, which it does seem to do. That was not the ideal line through loop. I think he's lost a bit of time there, to be fair, but nice line through Aintree, full flat down the Wellington Straight. Of course, the Wellington Straight was, of course, named because the Wellington Bombers used to take off from this straight. Very, very bumpy, but it is a beautiful bit of tarmac. Down into Brooklands we go. And that was a pretty nice line there from Mukhal. I'm thinking we might see a very, very competitive time being put on the board here. Got Chris Jones as well, one of the FRL organisers in the background, also going very quickly. 2 minutes left. Let's see what Mukhal can do across the line today as he does come down the back straight through Woodcote. He goes second on the grid, but Domikos Kiss has taken pole position. No, Silver takes pole position by 5/100ths of a second, a 158.275. That is a very, very quick time here.
Yes, very, very quick out of the blocks for the drivers. Yeah, Silver, I know all about Silver. Very, very capable driver on his day. And yeah, that's a very, very good first lap. I do suspect, though, that it's 2 laps, isn't it, for the drivers, basically, to get their laps in. So the second of the 2 laps will be an absolute stormer. So we'll wait and see in the next minute or so, George.
Chris Jones in P3 down by 0.6 of a second, or just under 0.6 of a second. Alan Brown, who's in the chat as well. Welcome in, Alan Brown. Love to have you in chat. In the BMW, it's going to be a bit of a challenge to get that BMW around in a good amount of lap time, but nonetheless, oh dear, we've got 2 drivers who've gone off there, so that's very unfortunate for them. Mukhal also having a little bit of an issue as well, but now down 1.3 seconds on Silver's time. At the moment, it's really just a battle between Keese and Silver, but where is Van Sand? Van Sand should be coming through and doing some decent lap times in a moment. So across the line, I think this is a hot lap. So let's see. Van Sand goes to P3, but it's not competitive enough to get up ahead of Keese or Silver. 2 McLarens, though, in the top 3. Keese navigating that Audi very, very well. And, oh, dear, Sandro Van Sand, that was the last hot lap that he was going to get. Unfortunately, he's gone wide at Cops. Not ideal.
There goes my podium hopeful there.
Well, we don't make predictions, Sean. We make prophecies that turn out to be false, and turns out that one was quite false.
Indeed it was. But yeah, we've got many fast drivers about to come across the line. In fact, Silva is very close to coming across the line now, and he goes back onto pole position, George. 57.995.
Yeah, our first 57. That is, I can tell you right now, doing a 57, very, very impressive. I think my best lap here is a 57.6. It's actually in a Ferrari 296. So I was a little bit gutted when I realized that was going to be the car that I had my best lap in. But the McLarens, again, like I said, going to be looking strong here. Van Sand, of course, won't improve. Just looking at Chris Jones as well. He's in the pit, so he won't improve either. Firth, and that's Thiele. Thiele has gone to P2. Brilliant lap there from the Lamborghini driver.
Wow, how close is that, George? 4/100th of a second down on Silver. Phenomenal.
Yeah, stonking lap there. Firth now coming across the line through Woodcote in the Ferrari 296, and the 86 car is up by about 0.5 of a second. He's found time. good time, and up into P4, so that's a really good finish there.
Nice.
For Firth, and puts himself ahead of Van Sant, who's admittedly the day is already starting to slip away from Van Sant, unfortunately. But all eyes now on Mukhal, up by 0.2 of a second, going through the last sector of this lap now down the Hamilton Straight as it stands, and the session has ended, so we didn't have a particularly long wait time. I think Mukhal will have time to finish this lap, but we will keep an eye on it. And now I don't have any option but to return to the grid. No, unfortunately, Van Sant does not. Sorry, Mukhal does not have time to come across the line there. And unfortunately for myself, I managed to get myself stuck on this screen. So that is a bit unfortunate. So we'll have to deal with this for now. Let's see if I can change the camera settings and get ourselves through our usual track walk for the day. But Sean, you can lead us away once the track walk comes up, which will be in just a moment. So give me a second here. There we go. Open. And here we go.
Yep,
so there we go.
No problem. Yes. On pole position, then we got Silver then with that 1 minute 57.995. Then we have on P2 is Leon Seeley, which he was less than a tenth behind. So close between the top two drivers there. Then in P3 we have DeMarcus Quiche. And 1/10 behind as well, so very, very close again with Firth in P4. Then Van Sant is P5. On P6, we've got Alan Brown. Then we get to the fourth row, and we've got Jones in P7 in that Porsche 992 car, of course. P8 is Jafrida in the Mercedes AMG car. Then we've got Roy Blues in P9 in the Porsche, of course. And Mr. GG, of course, rounding up the top 10 there in the McLaren. Then it's P11, it's Magul.
Don't even try. Don't even try.
You can never get it right, Jones. Never.
No, it's right. It's a hard one to do, unfortunately. And we're about to get started on the race. We've got short formation lap, so they actually start just out of the corner of Woodcote down the main straight. So that'll do for our top 10 for now. But looking forward to this race very much. It's going to be exciting. The start is going to be very, very interesting. And of course, Silver will lead us away on the grid today for our first race, of course, of 2. So don't worry, this is not a 20-minute stream. It's going to be 20 minutes and then another 20 minutes, and Sand is already looking to get those tyres up to temperature. Of course, nighttime here, optimum track conditions. The track has cooled down by 1 degree Celsius, 21 degrees Celsius. The wind is a full headwind, 7 kilometers an hour, but we're about to go green here. The lights for the rolling start procedure will be going green momentarily. Silver leads us away. Green, green, green. Drive-through penalty for speeding on the start for the 999 car already, as Seeley then goes around the outside of Silver. Silver's had a terrible start here. Seeley around the outside of that Lamborghini. That is an ideal start for the driver, 246 car. And in the background, we've got Keese losing out to Firth. Van Sant maintains fifth position as it stands at the minute. And Seeley is continuing. I think we've had a bit of an issue down the back there. Some going side by side. Overall, looks fine. The 778 car down the back of the grid, not having a great time. Mukhal has got it up into P10. All ready for the McLaren driver. Very, very impressive start. And that's going to be close. Yep. That's going to be very close here. Van Sant getting overtaken by Brown.
George, I've got to deliver you some really bad news for Muller. He's at the back of the grid. He's down in P26. I think there was a little bit of a coming together with one of the drivers. It seemed like there was at least a couple of cars that went wide out of maggots, I believe. Yeah, Muller down into P25, and this is what we were saying earlier, wasn't it? He's been very dominant during the last couple of rounds, but can quite easily happen at Silverstone, and it's been a bad start for the championship leader.
Has indeed, and I'm not actually quite sure where he qualified. It certainly wasn't all the way up the top of the grid. Maybe, Sean, you can find out where he actually qualified, but I think I do have that information somewhere. But nonetheless, Christian Muller not having a good day out. Blues goes up into P11. Gibbons has had a bit of a problem down the rest of the field, but at the moment, your current standings as it is, Seeley leads us away in the Lamborghini, Silver behind in the 555 car. Firth has had a good start there, up into third place ahead of Domikos Quiche, ahead of Brown to Brown in the BMW. Great start up into P5, ahead of Sandro Van Sant, who's just made an overtake on Brown. So Brown, unfortunately, has slipped down the order once again. Now under pressure from G. in that Mercedes AMG. It's a strong car here. The BMW, very tricky. It's a very understeery car. So Brown's going to have a lot of work to do. Chris Jones in that amazing livery pink Porsche in the background there, looking fierce, and he's hanging on to the back of the top 7 at the moment. And yeah, that's been a great little start there. Unfortunate for those at the back of the grid. I did see another drive-through, of course. That was for the 999 car, I believe, speeding at the start of the race. Not something you want to do. You really want to make sure you got that under control, because if you're going to get that drive-through in a 20-minute race, it's going to cost you. No pit stops, of course, today. They're not allowed to go and do anything in the pits. So you've got to take one tank of fuel, and you've got to get all the way around the 20 minutes, which should be no problem, but it's absolutely flat out around this circuit. Good start from the grid. Giuffrida doing well in P7, and around the grid, everything looking to start sort of solidifying itself. Everyone getting into a nice steak train around this beautiful circuit. And there's the 5-second penalty for 999 for causing a collision in the background. Does that have anything to do, maybe, Sean, with the disaster that is Christian Muller's race?
Well, actually, so I was looking back on the qualifying, so I didn't realise that Muller actually started all the way down in 24th position. So it might have, what I saw in the background was a couple of cars that went wide. They didn't actually see if there was actual contact or not, so they might have just ran off wide on maggots, you know, which is quite easily done, of course. But yeah, clearly not a good qualifying from Muller, which can catch out a few drivers. Obviously 6-minute qualifying, including the outlap as well, so not much time to get your lap times in, of course, George.
Indeed. Paul Firth having a little look down the inside, trying to trick Silver into making a mistake here. So the Ferrari driver doing very well. It's obviously got a really good setup for it today. Silver struggling a little bit for some reason or another. We will keep an eye on this little battle. But also getting a little bit of information, we do have a replay. I believe this is of Christian Muller. Hold on, that is not the right replay there, but we'll keep an eye on this one as well. Wide there goes the 98 car. And I think this is going to be a little bit of trouble down into Club. Careful, careful, careful. That wasn't actually too bad. That's not too bad. Club can be a very dangerous corner. And oh, is that Mughal right on the back of the 999 car? Very, very close there. And yeah, we'll get the right replay up now. Here's the number 30 car. So this should be Muller here. There it is, Mull. So he's gone into Maggots Beckett's a little bit on the outside there of the Ferrari driver ahead. Gets a reasonably good exit and then, dives it. Up into Chapel there, and gets tagged and turned around. Oh dear. Well, these things unfortunately do happen, Sean.
They do indeed. Yeah, very unlucky there from Muller. Yeah, that is the danger of starting towards the back of the grid, is that obviously you've got traffic in front of you, and yeah, unfortunately perhaps was being a little bit too ambitious, and yeah, gets tagged and off he goes. So yeah, unlucky for Muller. I've been looking at a few of the other battles as well on the track. There is a battle between Muggle Blues and Mr. GG as well. So P9, 10 and 11 look very, very close indeed, I have to say, George.
That's right. We've actually got them in the back mirror right now. Mark GG's just gone for an absolute dive. He'd missed his braking point into Farm and absolutely sent it into the corner. Managed to pick it back up in Village in the Loop and stays ahead now of Mughal. But Mughal's putting a lot of pressure on the back of Mark GG. We're on board right now with Giuffrida, with Chris Jones, who managed to get ahead just in the previous lap and then lost it again to Giuffrida. Through Brooklands they go. And this Porsche of Chris Jones is looking absolutely mighty. We absolutely love that livery, by the way. I think, actually, we will have to discuss this at some point, Sean. Who's got the favourite livery? So everyone in chat, let us know who your favourite livery is around the grid, because we are certainly interested to know.
I mean, yeah, it's definitely a striking livery, I have to say, for Jonesy. I quite like Giuffrida's, to be honest. I mean, isn't that more sort of reminiscent of sort of his country colours, is it? I believe. But certainly, yeah, I mean, there's quite a few striking colours throughout the grid. I'm not sure if, because I know you're a fan of the Lego livery, but I'm not sure if that car is on the grid tonight.
Yeah,
George.
Benjamin Eck and the Lego livery Mercedes. I do like it. Call me a fan might be a too strong a word, but that's a nice little move there. It's crikey, that's Yankov there. So making a move on, I believe, Turner. great little move there, and he'll have to do a little bit of work around Stowe. Yes, very, very nice move, and Turner does back out of it sensibly. So the 966 car now moving up. That's a really, really nice little move. Really tricky to do that in Stowe, because Stowe is one of those off-camber circuits where the exit suddenly creeps up on you, and then suddenly you're in trouble zone. So that was an absolutely beautiful overtake from the 966 driver. And going back on board now, we've got this battle here, as you mentioned before, between Mark GG, Blues, and Blues has gotten ahead of Mokal. So Mokal's dropped back to his starting position of P11 at this stage of the race. And mentioned here, as we do watch this amazing battle unfold, Mark GG under a lot of pressure. Seeley is now 4 seconds ahead of Silver. So the Lamborghini, I did mention that it was going to be potentially a very strong contender here and hard to overtake. Turns out you're not even going to be in overtake position.
Oh, and Belusi is on Mark GG for that P9. He's made that move stick as well, up the inside. Yeah, Mark GG is going to have to tuck
contact.
behind. There's contact between him and Muggle.
Yeah, Muggle there just went a little bit fast into the corner. Didn't expect Mark GG, who got a little bit offline there and had to slow down a little bit more at the apex. That's compromised both of them. Luckily, no one getting spun around, but that means the Blues will take a comfortable P2 and just drive away with it.
Indeed, he does, yes. I know that Magawa has got pace. He will come fighting back. Oh my God, he got really, really close to the back of Mark GG as we approach the back straight, isn't it?
Indeed. I'm just going to redirect our attention to Firth, because Firth and Keese are having a mega battle out here with Sandro Van Sand. A little bit of a switcheroo, switch back for Firth. Going on the move for Kiss. So Kiss managed to get past Firth once again. Around the outside it goes at Club. That's a tricky place to overtake. Keese gives him racing room. That's great driving from Keese, but opens up the inside for Van Sand, who will drive on through. Oh, contact. Oh, contact again. So Sand, unfortunately, gets a little tag on Keese. Keese is not happy. The lights are flashing in behind, and Van Sand will continue the charge. That'll be one for the stewards after the race. Van Sand might be looking to do a big send up the inside, braking late, brakes hard. Firth has got nowhere to go, and does take the inside, though. Brilliant racing. Van Sand using all the available racecraft at his fingertips and solidifies P4 there. Brilliant racing from these three. We're going to keep an eye on these, because that is a brilliant bit of racing that's going on. Sand is looking incredibly fast right now.
He is indeed, yes. Yeah, it definitely looks the more competitive of the drivers, but as you mentioned before, you know, Keisha, oh my God, they nearly touched as they went through, was it Luffield, isn't it? Keish all over the back of Van Sand. Firth is able to pull away slightly as we come up to Cop's Corner, but yeah, Van Sand just able to hold on to it for now, and Firth goes a little bit wide out of the exit as well, so that means Van Sand is going to start closing in on Firth as we go through Maggots and then through Beckett's as well. Oh my God.
Trying the switchback, because Van Sand really wants to get on the power early.
Yeah.
Really does. So they're going essentially 3 wide here. Oh my goodness, Kiss is looking up the inside. Kiss might be in for a little bit of a move here, because they're coming down towards Stowe. That is not a corner you want to go 3 wide into. Van Sand holds the inside. Beautiful racing from these three. Firth gets knuckled out there. Just totally knuckled out in the middle of the sandwich, and Keese goes ahead of Firth. Sand up into P4. What a battle. By the way, this is bringing Alan Brown directly into the back of this race. It's now a 4-way battle between these drivers. Unbelievable.
Indeed, George, yeah, fantastic racing between the three of them, which will now be 4 of them now. But my man Van Sand, yes, up into P3 now, and he'll be looking to pull away from Firth and Keish as well. So, yeah. Well, you know, game on, isn't it, George?
Oh, it is game on. Yeah, we've got Giafrida 2 seconds behind this pack, with Chris Jones about half a second behind as well, and they're having a nice little battle down there. By the way, Christian Muller is up to P14 already. He's gained 10 places.
Wow.
Mark GG's just had a big issue. Mark GG is off. He is off. Down towards Village in the loop. He's had a massive issue. He's not been good in the braking zone there. Elevates Mokal, Marge, Biswas, and Muller up into the top positions. Chris Jones going for more moves here on Giafrida, trying to force an error in the last quarter of Luffield through Woodcote. But the main battle remains. These four here absolutely going for it. Van Sant is pulling away. Nearly a 1 second gap out there for Sands now. And Quiche and Firth and Brown all going to be going at it for that top 5 position. Oh, this has been absolutely brilliant. 7 minutes remain. Oh dear, that's Van Sant wide. Van Sant wide.
Yeah, Van Sant very wide, and that will give the opportunity for Quiche to close the gap. Oh, he goes wide.
Oh,
they
no.
both go wide. Wow. And then get tagged together as well. Wow, big contact and disaster for Van Sant and Quiche. And that is going to lose many positions as is that Miguel going past? That is Mark GG going past Van Sant. So that is was that P15, I think, George?
Yeah, that's right. So the run for Van Sant has unfortunately continued of unluck and picking up a penalty as well for the contact, even though it was off track. Still unable to control the car and tagging Quiche on the exit. Both of them going too wide into the Maggots corner there. Forced Van Sant to take a very wide line, ran wide. Quiche just totally missed the apex, ran over it, hit a bump straight off the track, and then they came together as they tried to rejoin. That's a massive incident for those two, and such a good drive for them. So they're all the way back now, Van Sant and P11, and Quiche, luckily for him, does manage to hold on to P7, so a little bit less of a disaster there for Quiche, but the Van Sant with a 5-second penalty as well. Muller is very likely to get ahead of Van Sant in the next little while at the end of the race. So, oh dear, that was, you hate to see it. You really hate to see it. And Van Sant will be holding damage. I can tell you right now, McLaren's with damage, undrivable. Undrivable. 6.5 minutes left to go.
Yeah, and I hate to say it, but I kind of cursed him, didn't I, again?
Oh dear, so we need that anti-commentator's curse spray, don't we? We'll send some to Van Sant, will we?
I literally was just singing his praises, and I shouldn't talk anymore, should I?
No, absolutely not. It's as in continue talking. The commentator's curse is one of those mysterious, legendary, taboo topics that some believe in. Some think is entirely real, and some think it's a conspiracy. I think it's a conspiracy, personally. But nonetheless, we did spend quite a bit of time talking about Van Sant, so maybe Sandro will be sending us some messages after the race saying, hey, next race, could you just ignore me for the whole race? We're like, no, because at the end of the day, you're involved in such good racing. We can't avoid it at the end of the day. So nonetheless, we'll stop talking about Van Sant and focus on some other races around the grid now. And Chris Jones here on the back of Giafrida. They've been elevated into P6 and P5 respectively. A 15-second penalty being handed out for Biswas. So might have to try and find a replay for that, because I don't quite know what's happened there for Biswas. The 404 car involved in some major stuff there. 15-second penalty is a big slap on the wrist. I think we might have found the replay here. So on board we go, I believe, with Biswas here. There's a wide car at Cops ahead, and Biswas somehow is going to be involved in some mega contact here. Oh, that's the car ahead going very slow into Maggots and Backwards. Oh, he's going to look up the inside. That is not cricket. No, that is not cricket. That gap is going to close, and around goes the car ahead. Yeah, that's I hate to say it, but that's probably a well-deserved penalty.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, that is not a place to make a move through the succession of S's through Maggots, of course, and you just kind of wanted him to sort of like come on, get on the brakes now, get on the brakes, wait your turn, but yeah, he was a gap that wasn't there basically, George.
Yeah, that's right. It was always going to close, and this is Christian Muller now in the Audi coming up behind Biswas. Biswas will be holding a little bit of that damage, and oh, that's a beautiful move down the inside at Brooklands. Lovely stuff. Christian Muller showing that he's got the talent to make up the grid positions that he has lost. Khan in the 999 car, by the way, 20 seconds of penalty. So beautiful move there from Muller. Great driving, gets past Biswas, elevates himself up into P12, and he's within the 5-second penalty gap of Van Sant as well. Van Sant has just got past Marge, just happened just ahead of us as they go through now into Abbey. So Van Sant on a bit of a charge back through the field and doing very well. Christian Muller chasing after them, looking for that top 10 position. And here is Chris Jones and Giafrida once again. These two have been at it the entire race, Sean. 3.5 minutes to go in this race, and it's been exciting so far. Some unluck being handed out throughout the grid, but also some luck, because the likes of Chris Jones and Giafrida, this will be one of their best results ever between these two.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. They've certainly been at it all race, and P5 and the P6 will be an absolutely fantastic result for Jafrida and Jones. Jones getting very, very close to the back of Jafrida, though. I do feel like the Porsche looking particularly strong at Silverstone, and if he can stay in that slipstream as we get to the Wellington Straight in a couple of corners' time, it may have an opportunity to make a pass on Jafrida, George.
Yeah, the Porsche is incredibly good under brakes comparatively to a lot of other cars. Mercedes, big, heavy, chunky car. Hard to get it stopped, but it is fantastically fast in the straight. So you're absolutely right. And Jones here, that's a good run through Aintree. Little bit wide, but he's going to have the overspeed here and the slipstream. Stay in the slipstream. Giuffrida going defensive now. The Mercedes going to struggle against the overspeed and the slipstream effect of Brown, but rightly so. Goes defensive into Brooklyn, so this is what you need to do. Pushes, essentially, Chris Jones wide, because there's no space for Chris Jones to turn it at all, and that is a good bit of defensive driving from Giuffrida. And by the way, these two are coming rapidly up on the back of Alan Brown in the BMW ahead. So one to keep an eye on for the remainder of this race, but keeping an eye around the grid as well. We've got Van Sand, who is now right on the back of Mukhal. So Mukhal has got to prove his worth here and hold on to that P9 position, because in the last minute of this race, he's going to have a very fast Van Sand, looking very eager to gain as many points as possible in this championship. And as you can see behind, we've got Marge under a lot of pressure now from Christian Muller.
Yeah, Muller wants that top 10 for sure, George.
Oh, Sand makes the move.
Oh, yes, he does. Yeah. I just saw the background as I was looking at Muller and Marge. But yeah, fantastic move on Van Sand. Of course, he's got that 5-second penalty, so it's very important for him to finish as high up the grid as possible. But Mughal is not going to make it easy for him, and he's got the slipstream to Van Sand as well as we come down the Hangar Straight. Oh no, is he going to send it, Mughal? He certainly is.
That's brilliant.
Oh no, I'm looking at the wrong person. I'm looking at
Muller.
Sorry.
It's all good. No, Christian Muller there, beautiful send into Stowe. It's a very tricky place to do that, but he had the overspeed, so done that very, very well. Now on the back of Mukhal, he's going to be, he's eyeing up Van Sand. He knows that he needs to finish as close to Van Sand as possible and take advantage of that penalty. Defensive because Mukhal closes the door. There's no gap there. Yeah, Muller has to back out of the throttle, in fact, through Abbey. Great stuff from Mukhal, being very aggressive on the defense. But you've got to do that against the driver of the capabilities of Muller. You know how fast he's going to be. That's a very shallow line, though, for Mukhal going to the braking zone. 15-second penalty for the 138 car. What's happened there? Gibbons being given a big slap on the wrist by the stewards.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, and that is pretty much race over for him then, unfortunately.
Good overspeed here from from Muller. Hey, I made the same mistake as you.
Yeah. Oh, big send though from Muller. Is he going to be able to hang it around the outside? I think he is, because that's going to be the inside for Luffield, of course. And that is a great move from Muller and up into the top 10, George.
Now that takes, I can tell you, a lot of confidence to go around the outside of Brooklands, because the marbles are strewn across the track at that part of the corner. So that's a brilliant move. Mukhal gives him racing room on the exit, which is very, very good racecraft. So good stuff from both of these two. Excellent from Mukhal. And we know that he might not have the top speed of some of these top chaps. He's got some excellent racecraft. He's a very good defensive driver. We are, by the way, on the final lap of the race, so we do have to spend at least a couple of seconds here talking about Seeley, who's been leading the race, got ahead at the start of Silver, and has been having a very quiet race out there at the top of the night here at Silverstone. 246 car, the Lamborghini, doing absolutely beautiful. 7.2 seconds the gap back, as the last time he'll come through the Hamilton Straight towards Abbey, and it's been a superfluous drive. The fastest lap being set, of course, by Seeley as well, a 1:57.7, which is very impressive. We're only 0.8 of a second away from the qualifying times. Most of these drivers will be running qualifying setups, but we will essentially be seeing Seeley take the first victory here, unless something absolutely unbelievable happens in the next 3 or 4 corners. Seeley Silver has been running in the doldrums as well, having a nice quiet race in P2. Would have obviously been like to have been challenging up there with Seeley, but Seeley and that Lamborghini have been showing some absolutely mega pace here today, and that will basically seal it out for the race 1.
Yes, indeed, and yeah, I think Seeley had to take advantage of these opportunities when Muller was behind him, and certainly that's what he's done in this race, and that is really good for his championship, George.
Through Woodcote for the last time, flashing of the lights for Seeley and across the line, taking the checkered flag for race 1. Leon Seeley has had a brilliant first race out today, starting at P2, going to P1, and the opposite for Silver. Silver comes across the line for P2. Firth will take P3 after pulling a bit of a gap to Brown after that big incident between a whole bunch of drivers, including Van Sand, who got dropped back to the grid. Alan Brown will take one of his best performances of the season and a P4. Giafrida, another season best here. P5, equal season best, I should say. And oh dear, is that Van Sand stopped on the grid? Yes, it is. So that's only because the race is over. Giafrida and Jones. So Jones takes his season best as well. P6 there. Domakoskis, P7. P8 to Blues. And then P9, Muller and Sand will come in P10. So just holds on. Gets just enough time ahead, I believe, of Mukal to maintain the P10 position overall. So Mukal will have started P11 and will have finished P11.
Indeed, and I just see a little bit of a driver swap as well, as McCutcheon ended up finishing ahead of Mark GG. So he just made the move just before the penultimate corner then to go P21, Mark GG down to P22. And then Gedman 23 and Khan 24 by the looks of it, George.
That's right. And then Khan, as you said just before, we've got a 20-second penalty for Khan. And I think James Williams will come across the line and actually take that P24 position away from Khan. Should be just under. Let's see as he crosses the line. No, he's 20.3 seconds away. So I don't think he's going to take that position away from Khan. We'll see. I don't think he did. Hold on, we'll have to double check this one. We'll have to double check this one because that was very close. Let's have a little look. So timetables, we go to race 1 here and have a little look at the results. And well, that actually should be yeah, it's 19 plus 19.5. So I think Williams has just done it. He's just managed to get ahead into P24. Well done there. We've got one more race course coming up for you today. Race 2 coming up very shortly here at Formula Racing League's GT3 nightclub, powered by ACC Strategist. Of course, the season victory will get a lovely key to the ACC Strategist app. It's a brilliant app. Helps you with your race strategy, real-time information. It's absolutely brilliant. And we'll be looking forward to race 2 momentarily. This is round 5 here out of 7. So we've got 2 more rounds coming up after this, which are going to be very exciting. So do keep an eye on this channel. If you've been enjoying the stream tonight, do give us a follow as well. It's always really appreciated. We do love to see people give the follows, so I always appreciate that. And of course, if you've got any questions, do let us know in chat. We are keeping a reasonably close eye here from the commentary box. But Sean, that was a bit of a fun race. Who do you think had the best race there?
Well, I think I don't think the timetables lie, do they? I mean, Seeley, absolute phenomenal from him, wasn't it? Honestly, you know, led pretty much from start to finish, and yeah, he actually. I'm just sorry, mate. I was literally just looking at the standards just to see how that converts to points, and of course, it was a great fight back from Muller, who claimed P10 in the end, I believe. Or was it P9?
P9 for Muller, yes. And Muller got ahead because Sand, unfortunately, had that penalty. So,
okay. Well, I believe that Seeley gained roughly about 30 points on Muller in that last race. So, so the gap was 58 points between Muller and Seeley, and he has gained 30 points just from that race alone. So,
wow, so that's actually got some pretty big title implications for this race, isn't it? Well, it's all going to come down to race 2, though. I mean, what can Van Sand do? Is there going to be some opportunity to maybe, hopefully, dodge the unluck? And by the way, my favorite livery is actually Van Sand's. I absolutely love that livery. It's brilliant. Just going down the grid here again, just having a little bit of a view here. Get your chops sort of in the right position, because these libraries are beautiful. Everyone's doing a great job in the FRL league here, and beautiful scenes. We've got about a minute to go till race 2. But yeah, I think that's a fair call, mate. That's going to be pretty interesting, the championship. I mean, Christian Muller, with that result, that's still going to leave him in the lead of this championship, as I understand it. But we'll have to see what happens, because he's back here in P24. So just going to hone in on his car right now. There we go. So he's back here. So he fought back up to P9. That's 13 positions gained in a single race. Very impressive drive from him. So he's obviously got the speed. I don't know what happened to him in qualifying, though.
Yeah, it's a little bit of an odd one, isn't it? I mean, maybe he might have got caught in a bit of traffic because space. It's a bit of an issue when you've only got time to do maybe like 2 laps, isn't it, at Silverstone, with quite a big grid, of course. And of course, if you do run a little bit wide or cut a corner, then of course that is a lap invalidation, isn't it? So that is like half the laps there, isn't it? So yeah, it can quite easily be done, but very unusual from a driver of Muller's standard, of course. But as you said, he gained over 10 positions, wasn't it? In fact, it was 15 positions then, if he started from P24. Yeah, so easily capable, but not ideal, of course.
Absolutely. All right, so race 2 is about to begin. Silver will lead us off the grid again. The grid is set from the original qualifying. Across the line we go, and we'll see if Seeley can pull off the same move as we had before. Green, green, green on track. Here we go for race 2, and it's a good start this time for Silver, but nearly a repeat. Once again, Seeley's just got such good grip around the outside of that corner and is actually already ahead. Got a nose ahead of Silver immediately. Silver tries to close it off, but nothing. Oh, Firth and Kiss have come together. Stand up at the P3 and looking. Oh, Sands had contact as well with Silver there. So the 2 McLaren drivers up at the P2, P3, and that brings, I believe, Alan Brown directly into it. So Firth and Keys basically out of it at this stage. They have dropped back to position 6 and 7. That is super, super unlucky for them. Mark GG gets up ahead of Mughal. Mughal gets up in the P9. Keys down in P11 now. So Chris Jones up in the P6 behind Giuffrida, but leading us away once again. Thiele has had a mega start once again. The outside line there in Silverstone proving to be absolutely the best place to be. So he's stoked, and the speed off the line from that Lamborghini is just unparalleled on the grid at the moment. Oh dear, what we've got going on.
There was an orange McLaren. I can't quite see who that was because I was actually focusing on Firth. He was the one that really lost out at the start there as he went wide out of turn 2. He's down into P17, George.
No, we've got to redirect the attention again, mate. Sorry, Sand has been going for moves here. So P2, P3. Silver is under a lot of pressure from Sand at the moment. Unlucky for Firth, unlucky for those who lost out at the start. Very unfortunate, but on board now with this battle, and it is going to get very spicy because Sand is looking incredibly fast down the Wellington Straight. Some yellow flags happening in the background. The 747 car and the 404 car. Sand is going to try around the outside of Brooklands. No, going to try the switcheroo, but Silver there is closing the door solidly at the moment, and Brown is going to be looking to keep on the back of these two. Seeley out in the lead and doing very well. Pulled a 1.3 second gap already.
Sorry, George, I know it's not in significance of what you're watching there, but I was looking at the back of the grid and there was contact between Bergeau and De Jong. Bergeau went off the circuit, tried to rejoin the circuit and went straight to the side of De Jong as he was trying to mind his own business there. So
that is unlucky for them. It is indeed. We've got to keep an eye on the top at the moment because this is a huge battle going on. Sand and Silver going at it there side by side through Maggots, Beckett's and Chappell. Silver's lost out. He's had a bad exit on Chappell. Brown is going to go round the outside and Giuffrida is looking on the inside. They're going to go 3 wide down the hangar straight. Sand has moved ahead up into P2 and will start the charge after Seeley, and the defensive goes Brown. Brown is up into P3 now. Giuffrida gets on the outside through Stowe of Silver, but Silver's going to try the switch back side by side through with Brown. They're going to go maybe 2 wide into Club, and big send there from Blues. He's gone right around of Chris Jones, the Porsche of Chris Jones, and Chris Jones just been tapped in the background by Mughal, who's up into P8 at the minute. Great move there from Alan Brown, top stuff. And Sand will now start to begin the chase after Seeley. This has been a brilliant battle at the top here.
It has indeed. Drivers swapping positions all over the place. Jones looks like he's the one that has lost out and has moved down many positions as he's got another car just behind him as well. Car number 138, that is Gibbons, and another car in Quiche as well. So they are side by side, Gibbons and Quiche, as we come down the Wellington Straight now, and it looks like Gibbons is holding on to it in front of Quiche, but very close between the 2 drivers there. Back to you, George.
I'll tell you what's even closer right now is going on between P3, P4, P5. and P6, with Mughal tucked into the back of this little battle pack. This has been brilliant. At the top here, Sandra Van Sant is already out to a 2-second gap ahead of Brown, who's now in P3. And the gap is starting to come down to Seeley as well. So Sanders on a flyer, but not doing as good a lap times as Seeley. Seeley's putting the fastest lap, of course, on Sand. Oh, no, sorry, that's Silver. Has run wide once again at Copse, so struggling is Silver. Giuffrida's going to be thinking, oh, hey, I'll quite happily take that. Keep making those mistakes, mate, and we'll see you in the rear vision mirror anytime soon. Giuffrida's had a brilliant start here, P5. And Blues, though, Blues is up into P6 ahead of Mughal, ahead of Chris Jones, ahead of Gibbons, ahead of Keish. Keish starting his fight back. Recovery drive is in order, but Firth has been the one that really lost out. P13 currently. So that's the big recovery drive that's going to happen right now. But Blues is all over the back of Giuffrida. Porsche versus Mercedes power. And it is looking absolutely brilliant. Silver is starting to fall off the back, unfortunately, of Brown. He's looking very strong today in the BMW. And this snakeskin livery of Blues here with the pink lights is going to be all over the back of Giuffrida as they come towards Abbey for the third time in this race.
Yes, indeed. I mean, I'm looking up and down the field at the moment, George, and I don't know where to look, but yeah, certainly between Giuffrida, Blues, and Mughal, you know, really in close proximity of each other, fighting for that P5, of course, with actually Silver not too far in front of Giuffrida now. It looks like he's under all sorts of pressure from Giuffrida. As we come down the Wellington Straight now, he's going to have the slipstream to Silver, and no, don't think he's going to be able to send it for now. But of course, once they come, so yeah, side by side behind, isn't it?
Yep, that's right. Blues try around the outside of Brooklands, and Giuffrida manages to hold on. Good defensive line there, forced the Porsche a little bit wide, and manages to continue to hold the position. By the way, Silver at the moment is putting a lot of pressure on Brown, but Brown is doing an incredible job to hold on. The BMW is very tricky to drive through the slow corners, and the McLaren here of Silver looking fast in the high speed and low speed corners. I think he's starting to find the groove that he wants to sit in is Silver. So that is going to get a bit spicy, I think, later in this race. But Blues is still putting a lot of pressure. So four-way battle, essentially, or two-way battles at the minute between these drivers.
Well, I've got to say as well, George, Silver all over the back of Brown now as we come down the Hangar Straight. He's firmly in that slipstream, looking to close that gap. It is roughly about 2 to 3 tenths at the moment, and it is starting to come down as we go through Copse, isn't it?
That is
sorry, Stowe.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
All good.
Yeah. And Blues and is it Blues and Giuffrida, or is it Mughal? I can't see from that angle.
Well, all three of them actually.
yeah. All three.
Big contact. Oh dear. Okay, so that is Giuffrida, and oh no, more contact. Mughal has tagged Giuffrida as well. Oh dear, Mughal, that is probably your fault there, unfortunately, on that second one. First one, probably Blues, and Giuffrida having a mega battle, have completely lost out, and Blues, though, it manages to hold on, I think, to P10.
Jones.
Oh dear.
Mughal Jones. Wow.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
That's three bits of contact. Mughal has possibly been responsible for. Mughal actually races clear as well, so I'm sure the stewards are going to definitely look at these racing incidents after the race. But yeah, Mughal actually moves up into P5, but oh, that was quite shocking though.
Yeah, the first bit of contact there, Blues and Giuffrida, I think that was just them sort of coming together and not quite giving each other racing space. But the second two, they're, in my opinion at least, at this stage, entirely Mughal's fault. Not giving racing space there, in my opinion, but we'll have to leave that for the stewards. I can hear their pens clicking from a distance already. Mughal will, of course, take P5 for now. That essentially releases Silver, who's right on the back still of Brown. These two having a nice quiet battle out the front here, avoiding all the action behind. Fortunate for Chris Jones as well, who got picked up into Village by the likes of Mughal, both of them coming together. Of course, we are not stewards here, so our opinions are our own, just FYI. So we do not know exactly what happens. We do not know what the outcome of these incidents are going to be. Definitely looked a bit brave there from Mughal. Chris Jones is, running very slowly now. And Firth is going to have a bit of a run. This is going to be a bit spicy as they come down towards Stowe. Oh, side by side is always dodgy. Chris Jones has backed out a little bit. Holds the inside line, but Firth gets ahead. Oh, Muller
outside maybe.
Oh,
a little bit of
more contact.
But I think Muller has just made that stick though, and Muller will be up into P8. So Jones losing out on many positions in the last lap or so. And yeah, phenomenal, Jules, because Muller has come from P24 to P9, and we still got 10 minutes left of the race.
And now P8 for him. So he's actually gained 16 positions in this race, which is unbelievable. So he's driving incredibly well, is Muller, as we do go for an onboard lap, and he's got third ahead of him. Jones now behind, who's going to be fighting with Blues, Silver and Alan Brown. That battle is still continuing and getting very close at the minute. And leading the race, of course, Seeley and then Sand in P2.
And yeah, and also Blues actually hit the back of Jones. Luckily, it came to nothing, and Jones, you know, still in front of Blues in P9 and Blues for P10 respectively. But it's all kicking off, George.
Sure is, and just keeping an eye here on Christian Muller's inputs and looking how smooth he is around this track. It's one of the key things to be looking at in terms of how a driver operates, and the operator here of the Audi in Christian Muller is a very smooth operator, as Carlos Sainz would say, but nonetheless, it's looking very nice and tidy. Through Copse we go, a little bit of a bump there, but the Audi handles that beautifully. Firth, who has had a bit of contact, unfortunately, right at the start with Keys, has maintained that P7 position for the moment, has got Gibbons ahead in the Ferrari. So there's two Ferraris going to be going at it. Not a big change of delta between them at the moment. Firth runs a bit wide. That's a bit more than wide. That's quite wide. And that's going to give him a terrible run down the hangar straight. And Muller is going to get him potentially into Stowe. Brilliant stuff. And Firth just losing out. He's just not quite had it. Blues and Jones going side by side as well. And Blues will have it in the background. Jones not able to hold that position. Muller up into P7, Jones up into P9, and Blues falls to P10. Firth falls to P8 at the minute, and we've got now Mughal and Gibbons ahead in P5, P6. The Silver battle between Silver and Brown still continuing.
Very
These
close.
two are inseparable.
Yeah. While she was looking at that, I was looking at the fight for P3, because at one point they were pretty much touching. That's how close they were going through Maggots and Beckett's.
Oh, Muller has made a move on Gibbons. He's gone through the inside into Village there. Gibbons is going to have the inside loop. The switcheroo for Muller is going to get a really good run through Aintree and onto the Wellington Straight. So sorry to interrupt again, Sean, but that is going off, and Muller is just flying at the minute.
He is indeed. Clearly, well, he's not the fastest man on the track, because Seeley's the fastest man on the track, but for sure the second fastest on the track. He seems to be overtaking them like they weren't even there, George.
That's right, a hot knife through butter at this stage, and Muller does put a beautiful move through Brooklands and into Luffield. That's excellent stuff. Good racing room given by Gibbons as well, and the charge now for Muller. He's going to be going after Mughal.
Oh, and that's Brown that's gone wide. Brown, as we come up to Maggots and Beckett's now, Brown went very well wide on the exit, and Silver all over the back of him. Of course, he can't make the move through these sequence of corners, but he is all over the back of him, and surely he'll be confident to try and make the move as Brown goes very defensive and swings the car over to defend for the inside line. Not sure if Silver can make the switcheroo or not. Of course, Brown's going to have a very narrow line going into Stowe, of course. So
Too right, yeah. That was a good bit of racing, and I have to redirect our attention once again, because there's so much happening in this race. Looks like Jones has had a terrible run through the first S's, Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel. He's dropped now to P12. Yankov and GG drive on through. They're having a nice little battle as well. Wide, though, goes Mark GG. He's not got a great run, and penalties now being handed out in swathes. We've got Keys sitting in the pits, no longer in this race, got a penalty. Nice bit in the P23 right now, the 242 Porsche Lamborghini. 15-second penalty. Biswas gets another penalty. 5 seconds causing a collision. Gedman, 5 seconds, and Mughal has been given a big penalty as well. And speaking of Mughal, he's just been overtaken by Muller.
Yes, indeed. Yes, he has. Yeah, Muller crept up on him and sent a very slight move on Muggle as he received that 5-second penalty. So, yeah, a bit of a double whammy there for Muggle. But, yeah, Muller, absolute phenomenal drive here on race 2, of course, George.
Oh, it's unbelievable. It's lovely to see, as we said before, hot knife through butter at this stage. And I hate to be that guy in the commentary box, but I hate to say, but yeah, I think Mughal probably deserved that 5 seconds there for that contact that did happen in one of those two corners. But it has been a very good drive overall for Mughal in terms of positions gained, going from P11 up to P6. A lot of action happening around him. Gibbons now all over the back of him. Firth now dropping to P8. He's got Blues in the Porsche behind him, so that battle is going to continue to heat up. These four pretty much inseparable, only about a second gap between all four of them. Silver and Brown, by the way, still going at it.
Yeah.
Seeley leading the race, 57.967, the fastest lap. Side by side, they go. Firth is looking for a move on Gibbons. We've got Mughal ahead. Oh, they're going to go sandwich him. They're doing a Heikkinen and Schumacher. No, Gibbons there rightly backs out, but Firth, beautiful move around the outside. He'll have the inside. Mughal gets a little bit squiggly on the exit. Contact between the two, but Firth is ahead as they go into club. And that is a brilliant move. And oh, big contact. Mughal has been spun by Blues. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear.
Yes, indeed, yeah. You could almost say a bit of payback on Mughal, but yeah, unfortunate, of course, we don't like to see that. But yeah, unfortunately, disastrous couple of laps for Mughal as he sinks down into about P10, I think, George.
Yeah, going into club side by side and four in a group is yeah, risky, I think is the technical term for that. It's you've got to be very, very brave and very, very accurate. And unfortunately, the driver at the back there in Blues just not being quite as accurate as maybe it needed to happen. Oh, by the way, another 15-second penalty for Mughal. So that's now a total of 20 seconds for those incidents earlier on in the race. And that is a big, big slap on the wrist. And yeah, it was a pretty messy lap, unfortunately, for Mughal. And things have gone from bad to worse. Penalty and now dropping back to P9. He'll be under pressure from Mark GG. He's having a good little battle with Yankov. By the way, Christian Muller, we said he wasn't as fast as Seeley. Well, he is now because he's just taken fastest lap. A 57.7 flat. That is a very, very fast time. And Muller's on a charge because he's only 3 seconds now behind Silver, who's still, as we see, we're on board right now, still in a battle with Alan Brown. So these two just completely inseparable on track the entire race. And that was a moment there for Silver. Manages to wrangle the McLaren back on track through the exit of Chapel onto the hangar straight. So Brown still holding on to his life. This will be Brown's first podium in nightclub. Certainly this season. Not sure if he's had a podium before, but this will be his first podium here. So he's going to be fighting for his life at this stage.
And George, Mughal has added another 15 seconds to his penalty, taking it up to 35 seconds.
Oh dear, oh dear. So yeah, that's it's gone from bad to worse to nightmare to probably something even worse than that. Can't think of what that might be. I think Mughal was thinking he's on Elm Street more than anything, you know. Yeah, too right. Yeah, I mean, it's good that the stewards are looking at these, and ooh, that's very close there for Silver. I think Silver's becoming a bit more aware in the last 2.5 minutes that he's got a very fastest lap setter behind him in Christian Muller, and that gap is going to close up rather quickly. So he's got to get the move done now or never. Remember, Silver started in P1. And due to some unfortunate circumstances early on in the race, has been dropped back. That's an interesting line through Brooklands, trying to open up the run into Luffield, but Brown's just sitting, he's putting the car right where it needs to be. This is really, really good defensive driving from Brown. And, you know, at a track like Silverstone, there is some brilliant places to overtake, but if you're sitting on the apex, as Brown is doing, there is really nothing that the car behind can do. So Silver at the moment has got to find something to do. Currently, not a lot. And just a quick note, sand in the doldrums. The gap is quite big. Steely leading the race in 1 minute 50 to go as it stands today.
Oh, Brown with a drive-through penalty.
Oh, that's a track limits. That is track limits violation. Oh, but Silver's gone.
Off.
Oh, no.
Oh,
okay,
no.
Through goes Muller. Through goes Muller. Oh, wow. So Silver who was just staring down a bronze medal P3 victory there with the drive-through for Brown, who's got to serve it literally in the next couple of minutes. Literally in the next minute and a half, so the next lap or so, he'll get a 30-second penalty at the end of the race. Total disaster. And McCull has gone as well. I believe there's something going on with McCull. Yeah, McCull is completely gone off track. Well, I mean, how do you get worse than being on Nightmare on Elm Street? I don't even know. I think it might be in hell with the devil or something like that. It's gone absolutely crazy. Blues on the back of Gibbons at the moment, but that little incident there, Brown. So Brown, this is big. This is absolutely massive. Brown with a drive-through. Muller is going to have a drive from P24 to P3 on the grid. He's going to get a podium today, Sean.
Absolutely crazy, George. Absolutely crazy. But it just shows you, isn't it? Anything can happen if you keep it consistent, keep the foot down the course like Muller always does. And yeah, absolute fantastic drive, and will be well deserving of that P3. Who knows what else could happen? But I think there's going to be one more lap, George. I could be wrong. It's going to be a touch and go whether or not these drivers will be able to get another lap in, because we've got 20 seconds left of the race. I know that Seeley will be coming across the line to start on the next lap.
So Seeley will come across the line. That'll initiate the last lap of the race, and everyone else will have one more lap to do. So Seeley will finish the race after this lap, and then the checkered flag will go out. A little bit different from other platforms. Other platforms have a little bit of a hard limit on crossing the line, but not the case in this case. 738 car has picked up a drive-through. Oh, not quite sure who that is, actually. But that's a bit unfortunate for them. But Brown, it looks like he's just going to go and accept the fact that he's got a 30-second penalty at the end of this race, because he's not coming to the pits. He's not looking to do anything at this stage. I think he's just accepting the fact that he's absolutely mucked up his race. So really unfortunate for Brown, because it was such a good drive, and he's beautifully defensive all the way through this race. And unfortunately, in that attempt to keep Silver behind, who inevitably was not going to be challenging at the end of the race anyway because of that mistake, and in the attempt to keep him behind, he's gone and run through track limits just one time too many. And that drive-through is so painful for us to watch here in the penalty box. No, in the commentary box. Very painful to watch, because Alan Brown, honestly, that was going to be driver of the day for race 2 here for me personally, because it was an absolutely mega drive. That's actually another invoice there for running wide. So he's not keeping it necessarily as on track as he needs to, but overall, I think still a mega drive from the BMW driver. So just sometimes it doesn't swing your way.
Yeah, just put the blame on us commentators for cursing your luck
in the penalty box. That's right, yeah.
in the penalty box.
Commentators curse in the penalty box. We're just handing it out. You get a penalty. You get a penalty. No. No, but let's not reinforce the conspiracy theory, Sean. Oh, is that contact? That is. Blues gone. Blues and Firth have... Oh, no, Gibbons. Blues and Gibbons gone. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's Gibbons. Wow.
Oh, and Gibbons has gone for a pirouette as well. Oh, dear. By the way, we've got to jump back over here, because Seeley has finished the race, so he takes P1. Great drive. Van Sand comes in P2. Excellent drive from Van Sand. Finally gets a good result here, P2, after a bit of a disaster last time out. Muller, of course, will be elevated to P3. Brown does actually come into the pits. So Brown comes into the pits to serve a drive-through. You're probably better off just taking the 30-second penalty, because you're going to get that applied anyway now that the race is finished. So you come across the line in the pits. So unfortunately, that's actually made it worse for Alan Brown. Across the line will come Silver for P4. Firth in P5. Blues will come across the line just in P7. Yankov will end up taking P8.
Oh,
Mark
he's
GG.
got a 15-second penalty, Blues.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so that's contact, unfortunately. So he will drop down the grid, I think, quite substantially out of the top 10. That'll elevate Jones, who's in the pits. Oh, because he reset, up into P10. So actually Jones, after a bit of a disaster, will actually get a top 10 finish. So excellent job from that driver. Wow. Holy moly, that was quite the race. And you can see the penalties that are around the grid right now. That is quite something. Welcome into chat, Gemma Rambet and Alan Brown as well. So yes, interesting and stuff. Staffers as well. Brada, welcome in. That is our race 2. What an absolute banger of a race. That was something else. Although, I have to admit, you never like to see that many penalties in a race. It was a lot of contact, a lot of, I won't call it desperation, a lot of eagerness, Sean, in that race.
I mean, I'm absolutely knackered, George, to be honest. That was absolute craziness. I mean, I've got to say, I absolutely love the GT3 nightclub. It never fails to impress me, or never fails with the drama. And certainly, race 2 at Silverstone, possibly one of the best races I've seen in a very, very long time. Whether it's for great racing manoeuvres and perhaps some shocking moments, or driver collisions and stuff like that, but still, yeah, absolute phenomenal. And what a drive from Muller as well, getting that podium, of course, and that's taking it away from Seeley, that got back-to-back wins, of course.
Too right. Yeah, that's right. So a brilliant race. A couple of comments in the chat. Bill Mobo saying hi to Gemma. And that is, was ZM. I believe that might be Mr. Mughal there. Defo did not deserve 35 seconds of pens. That's one that you can bring up with the stewards, of course, later on. Yeah, there's a bit of contact there. 3 penalties handed out. There was 3 incidents. Maybe that first one wasn't, you weren't really involved in. The second 2, you're definitely slightly involved in those ones, unfortunately, but nothing for us to commentate on. Overall, I think you were very, very fast, and all the drivers on the grid, actually, despite the penalties that have been handed out today, all doing a brilliant job and providing what was an absolutely sensational race to watch. So a big thank you to all the drivers today. You've all done incredibly well, as always, as we get towards the end of the season. Sean, we're barreling right towards the end of it. That was round 5, of course, and we're moving next week to Valencia, one of my favorites. McLarens, we're going to watch out for them. They are incredibly quick at Valencia, and then, of course, round out the season, it will be the Nürburgring, none other than the Nürburgring. So that's going to be very exciting. But, of course, today, Silverstone, brilliant racing. Sean, okay, race 1, driver of the day. Race 2, driver of the day. Overall, driver of the day, what do you think? And, of course, for those in chat, let us know who's your driver of the day, who's your favourite livery, race 1, race 2. Give us your votes, and we'll discuss that now.
That's always a topic amongst us two, is livery of the day. But yeah, driver of the day. Oh God, that's a tough one, isn't it? Automatically I'd give it to Seeley because he won both the races, and he was extremely dominant, didn't put a foot wrong or a wheel out of place, you could say. But then Muller, after really bad qualifying from him, started P24. He made, what was it, 16 positions, I believe, from race 1, and then another 21 positions in race 2. I mean, you can't ignore that, can you, George? So I think, to be honest, I'm going to give it to Muller.
I think that's a good call. I think honourable mentions for Seeley in the race was obviously taking P2 in qualifying, P1 and P1 in both the races. It's an absolutely excellent result, and it was very, very dominant. Glad that Sandro Van Sand was able to get a good result in race 2, but Christian Muller driving up from P24 in both races after, I don't know what happened in qualifying for him, but driving up to P3 in the second race, that is absolutely something. Obviously, there was a bit of stuff happening around him, some penalties, some action. It might not have been quite as good a result in that second race if it weren't for the drive-through for Alan Brown and the accident for Silver. So a little bit lucky for Muller, I would say. Personally, my driver of the day would be Seeley, because solid drive, no incidents, no issues all the way through the race. P2 in qualifying. It was 99% of a perfect weekend. But nonetheless, folks in chat, do let us know who your driver of the day is. We are interested to hear. But that is going to be the end of GT3 Nightclub's round 5 today. And it's been a pleasure, as always, bringing you the commentary from the commentary box here on behalf of Double O Raven Comms. It is myself, George Cook, and Sean Madden. It's been a pleasure, as always, Sean. And we'll start to round out with some final thoughts on the stream here. We've got a vote here from Floppy Fox for Seeley walked it. Alan Brown saying 2 track limits and 1 off track. Damn it, Alan, mate, you had a mega drive. Actually, an honourable mention. Actually, I forgot to mention this. Honourable mention for Alan Brown, because that defensive masterclass you showed us in race 2 was something else, wasn't it, Sean?
It was indeed, and honestly, like, me and George were just so sad for you. I mean, what a time to get a drive-through penalty. If I think, what was it, 1 or 2 laps from the end? Was it?
Yeah, it was
something
literally
like
2 laps from the end. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's so unlucky. And we was, before then we was, praying that you was going to hold on to P3. Of course, that excellent defensive drive against Silver, wasn't it, in P4? You managed to hold him off for so many laps, and to get that drive-through penalty 2 laps from the end, just so unlucky. So we definitely feel for you, Alan, but still a fantastic drive from yourself, of course.
Couldn't agree more. And we'll start to round out the stream now. So a huge thank you to the Formula Racing League organisers, all the admins, all the teams and the drivers. You've put on quite the show, as always, in the GT3 nightclub. A pleasure, of course, bringing you the comms here. So a big thank you to Sean Madden tonight for being in the commentary box, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure, as always. So, rounding out the stream now, of course, give us a follow here on the Formula Racing League channel. We're going to be back next week with Valencia on the 15th of September, so make sure you join us for that. Of course, GT3 Masters, the Sprint Series, all happening next week at Valencia too, so make sure you tune into our channels over here on TV1, and of course TV2 as well, Formula Racing League TV2. Give them a follow, and of course the PlayStation 5 channels, where you can find the lovely, articulate Sean Madden doing some brilliant racing for the PS5 section of Formula Racing League. But from here in the commentary box, once again, massive pleasure being here as always. GT3 Nightclub providing an absolute spectacle here. So looking forward to next week at Valencia. Thank you all. Good evening, good night, goodbye. Stay safe out there. We will see you next time. Goodbye.
Good night, everyone.